Hello! I am getting ready to sit down with Coulee Health on Instagram, aka Erica Boland, who is a friend of mine that is going to chat with us for the first ever Bad Axe Asks. I'm very excited to be doing this. I have been missing podcasting since I stopped doing the knitting podcast with my friend Kate. Which that's, I'm sure, still available on YouTube if you want to see hilarious and wonderful footage of knitting projects. You can go check that out. I'm not going to tell you where. You have to do really good stalking on your own. We're in the middle of our coronavirus quarantine here in the US, so I thought now is as good a time of any to jump in and start doing some Zoom interviews with creatives, professionals, business owners, unique people who are building new realities out of their own passions. So exploring things that are possible beyond the 9 to 5, taking their skills and putting them to work in creative ways, and empowering others while they're doing it. So today we're going to talk to Erica about some kind of cool things about like what makes her tick, what her business is, how it started, and just some interesting insight that she has to share. I always love our chats, so I'm really looking forward to you guys all meeting her too. Also, like and subscribe the Bad Axe channel for more content like this. Right, let's go call Erica. Well, hi Erica, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
This is Erica Boland, who actually was a early client of Bad Axe. She reached out to me, when was that, 2 years ago?
It's been a bit.
Yeah, maybe more than that. I don't even remember. And we did a little bit of strategy work for the clinic that she runs. And I, since then, have just kind of been obsessed with following her journey on social media and everybody that works at the clinic and seeing all the really, really interesting things that they do. So tell us a little bit about that for people who aren't stalkers like me and don't know anything about you. Give us a little bit of background.
Sure. So my husband and I are chiropractors and own and run Coulee Health in West Salem. And we have one employee, Randy. She is office manager, community outreach, basically keeps our wheels running. She's a guru. And then we have an awesome team that works inside of our clinic, but each have their own little business. So we have Jill O'Brien, who's a fantastic physical therapist, and Heather Odenbach, and she is equally as talented massage therapist. And then Shannon does Reiki as well. So we have a blend of both worlds. And then newly, we also have our sauna room, which in everything going on right now, we've been making sure we take extra advantage of. So
yes, I have been very excited about the day when I can come out and try out the sauna because it looks amazing. And who doesn't like a nice sauna day?
Right. Yeah.
So when I met you, it was I'm really lucky in that I get to work with people who are super, super passionate about their work, and I demand that. I don't want to work with somebody who's kind of meh about going into business. So it was awesome when you reached out because you're totally like incredibly passionate about what you do. So tell me a little bit about what sparks passion for you in your work. What really just totally sets you up to just jump out of bed in the morning?
Okay. This is such a good question. So birth, which for those of you that don't know me right now, you're probably thinking, but you're a chiropractor. What is happening? So I'm a chiropractor and a doula, and I help people in their parenthood transition, no matter where that is, trying to conceive, pregnant, or postpartum. And chiropractor and doula lets me blend both worlds together and still have my own 4 kids and family. So I am just super passionate about helping people and empowerment and education and true informed consent, and no matter what the care is. So what gets me out of bed in the morning, other than the noise in our house, And the fact that I need to move in the morning or I won't move at all is, I'm just, yeah, like you said, I'm just super passionate about helping people. So right now, I've realized that even more, just the human connection, the importance of the human connection.
Mhm.
And I feel super thankful to be an essential health worker right now in our state. So yeah, passion.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of what you put out there too, content on social media is kind of where I'm focusing on for what you guys have done, just because that's the channel that I'm engaging with you on a lot, especially
Yeah.
Instagram. They put out a ton of stuff about, I mean, I have 2 kids, facets of mothering, the process to becoming a mother, postpartum, the fourth trimester, that whole thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I never even considered, that have made
Yeah.
me kind of like look at my own life and pieces of my own identity and kind of explore ways that, wow, maybe these things are impacting me in things in ways I didn't expect, just because of some of the, like, one that I know you were talking about recently was scar tissue. So if
Yeah.
anybody's squeamish, this one you might want to skip ahead a tiny bit, but not gory or anything. But
Yeah.
so the scar tissue mobility was a post that you guys had recently had on Instagram, and I have had a few different gut surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something I never thought about, and it wasn't really addressed to me. I had an amazing team of doctors for those surgeries, but
Right.
nobody really mentioned, like, hey, your scar tissue could fuse to layers that are below it and cause massive problems. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. 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 There's a major gap in our healthcare system. Where I notice it most
Mm-hmm.
is in women's health,
Okay.
because that's my specialty.
Yeah.
But it isn't only in women's health. However, as professionals, well, as humans, we like to try to find somewhere to place the blame, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then
Yeah.
then we don't have to take responsibility for it.
Right.
But what happens is, like, you just set this up perfectly. You had an amazing team to do your
Yeah.
surgery, right? That's what they're
Yeah.
trained in. The gap is someone on the team needs to be trained in musculoskeletal health,
Mm-hmm.
in scar tissue work, in the function of the body and what happens with scar tissue. And so if it isn't an injury of a limb, like a shoulder or a hip, there's really not a lot of rehab
Mm-hmm.
given.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say that that's the fault of the surgeon,
No.
because they're not trained in that. And as someone that is highly trained in musculoskeletal work, so soft tissue
Right.
work, the way the body functions,
Yeah.
it's my responsibility to educate other professionals and general population that this is something that is not only one thing that we can help with,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that needs to be done. So I have also had a abdominal surgery, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you on, like, holy crap, I never, there's a learning curve that happens.
Yeah.
But when you have outside of motherhood, even so, even for males or females, when you have an abdominal surgery, even laparoscopic, so then we think, like, okay, it's just a little incision, 3
Right.
little
Right.
incisions, everything's fine. But they
Yeah.
actually inflate your stomach with gas to about the
Yep.
size of an 8-month pregnant woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so that alone affects your tissues very quickly. During pregnancy, that change happens over months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's different layers of tissue underneath, and scar tissue forms thicker, and
Mm-hmm.
then it can adhere or stick to the tissues underneath it. So yeah, that's something that can affect your breath
Mm-hmm.
and your core function and movement. It can affect GI function, and typically abdominal surgeries, the cause, there's been some sort of GI issue going on
Yeah.
anyway, no matter
Right.
whether it's directly related or not. So
Yep.
yeah, that's like one area and one example of what I'm really, because postpartum, I love birth, and I
Mm-hmm.
love, like, that's miraculous every single time. And also I'm very passionate about seeing that through into the postpartum time period, That's like what really gets me fired up, because that's typically where care drops
It
off.
stops. Yeah, definitely. And that, to me, I mean, when I first found out I was pregnant with our oldest, I was like, you know, in your mind, you have some of these preconceived notions of like, okay, I'm going to be seeing doctors, I'm going to deliver in a hospital, I'm going to see nurses.
Yeah.
Because I, like, even though we were preparing to have a child, I really hadn't thought about what I wanted my birth care. And then my cousin is a doula, and she mentioned, she's like, so what are you doing for your postpartum care? I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean?
What
Like,
is that?
I'm gonna have a baby. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm going to do is keep a child alive. That's it.
Like, somebody can help me do that.
Exactly.
That would be great. Like,
exactly.
and that's been, and you know, some of that too, it feels very natural. Like some of the different things that you talk about online or that you offer as services, they make so much sense. I mean, to me, especially, I think a lot of some of our experiences and beliefs align on some different topics, but it makes a lot of sense to me, having gone through a few different health issues where doctors told me that no, that's not happening.
Right.
And knowing, like, my own intuition, knowing what was wrong 2 years before somebody else figured it out.
I hear you.
That kind of leads into the next question I have. You know, you talk a lot about how the body and the mind and your general constitution are all so connected, and when you tune into your needs to your health, you're also more tuned into your needs just in life in general.
Yeah.
So do you have a particular example of when your health or your body led you to make a change in business? So something like maybe trusting your gut, that's that people use a lot, or adapting to a physical change, or tell me about
For
that.
sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'll try to make a real long story short.
That is a loaded question.
Right.
I know.
No, but it's good. It's so good. And sometimes, I mean, we all have our own stories. We all have our own background. We all have our own like lens on the world, right? And our own blueprint of like how we learned to live this life. And I would say so that question for me, the answer transpired over 4 years. But so we have 4 boys. So yes, always a wrestling match. That's like the first question that comes up for people all the time. Yeah, and the answer is yes. The things I thought I'd never have to say come out of my mouth on a regular basis. So after the birth of our 4th son, I already, what you would say, like I knew better. I knew to give myself time. I knew to slow down. I knew not to jump back into running right away. I knew all of the things. And so at the time I was working for a company called BirthFit, which I'm no longer affiliated with. And I am a firm believer that everything happens timely and on purpose. But it was 2018, the beginning of 2018, when I finally was like, I don't know what is wrong with me. I was to the point where I would lay down in bed at night before my kids did, because I just like could not. I was so exhausted. Tired. Yeah. I was actually just looking at photos, cleaning my photos out, and came across the photo that I took of myself in the mirror, because what was happening was my stomach was bloating. Like that was another symptom that was happening. So this photo, and I look at it now and I look like I'm 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
That's how, and I was doing autoimmune protocol and keto and FODMAP. I mean, I was like so restricted. There's like a list of 4 things I could freaking eat, and I was still getting bloated. And so
inflammation,
yeah, like the science mind of me was like, okay, I'm just gonna muscle through this and treat myself. Found out I had a parasite, all of these things. In hindsight, I realized I was exhausted. I was so exhausted. And so whether I had a parasite, whether I didn't, there was no way that I was in any mental or physical shape to heal anything,
Yeah.
like to
Interesting.
heal anything. So, I was having pelvic floor symptoms while simultaneously teaching people how to avoid pelvic floor symptoms and just all these things.
And then that
And
probably added stress too. You're
yeah,
like, I'm
oh,
teaching these
yeah,
people how to
right.
do this and I
I'm
can't
a
even do it.
fraud. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So in the last 6 months, though, I've realized that I was not living aligned with my values.
Mm-hmm.
I was standing in front of large groups of people talking about how to live aligned with your values, talking about how to properly support humans, your
Yeah.
patients. When I was with BirthFit, I taught chiropractors, PTs, OBs, midwives, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
how to do a better job at supporting people while I wasn't supporting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, if I don't, everything, in order to make a change, something has to happen for
Yep.
you personally,
Yep.
right? I can tell you to do whatever, you won't do it unless you're in it.
Yeah.
And I finally realized, like, I need to live aligned to my values. And I
Mm-hmm.
also need to figure out what's actually really important to me, because I have 4 kids at home, and my relationship with my husband, and my sister and my mom and my in-laws and all of
Yeah.
that. And that was like, I was living my life like that was my back burner,
Oh,
and my
yeah.
work
Yeah.
was in front. And so, um, without getting emotional, it's like, as soon as it was hard, it was really hard decisions that had to be made. But I started to ask myself the question, prompted by my coach,
Mm-hmm.
um, is this peaceful? And living for someone else
Right.
or through something else it's not, no amount of money makes it more peaceful than your own truth. So to answer your question, now I can sit here and look back and think, like, all of those times that my gut and my intuition told me, you need to make a change, this isn't right for you, you need to do something different, I shoved it down
Mm-hmm.
out of, like, it's just me being hard on myself, or it's just me being in fear or whatever. And so I'm still, and we all are, every day on this journey of honoring my intuition, honoring my values, and making sure that every day when I wake up, I ask myself, how do I want to show up today to be
Mm-hmm.
me and not to be someone else? So it sounds cliche, but
No.
also, yeah, it's tough, but it's necessary.
So, since you are kind of living through that experience right now of making a hard call that creates a big change in your life, that, a lot of times I get the feel, when there are people who talk about like, you'll know the right choice when you make it. That's not always true. You have a
Mm-mm.
lot to unravel for that,
Mm-hmm.
internally, and then
Yeah.
like logistics of what's happening with the
Mm-hmm.
situation. So when somebody is faced with a change, either one that they're controlling and deciding to make, or one that's been kind of thrust upon them, what recommendations do you have as a person who's going through that, for coping with those changes, whether it's a change you initiated or one that just arose?
Happened upon you like a
Yeah,
pandemic
like a
person,
pandemic,
maybe,
maybe.
maybe something like that. So again, so my coach, Shelly Lawrence is her name. She's absolutely amazing, and I like script in my sessions. I'm like scribbling down quotes from just like, yeah. Um, and she said something to the line of, when we feel disrupted is when we argue with reality, when we argue
Hmm.
with what is. And I think that it, right, especially with all the outside pressures, I would say, again, because of my lens and my population that I work with, especially
Yeah.
on women, And then women that want to have a career and children, there's not space for that.
Yep.
You really have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and write down your values, even if it's like your top 5 values. And if you don't know how to do that, Google it. Really, honestly, just like Pinterest, Google, whatever.
Yep.
Rock Your Bliss is a really good resource for that.
Yeah.
Mary Beth LaRue and Jackie Carr are amazing humans that can help you through that. But writing down your values, and then when big things come up or huge transitions come up, return back to those values to start to help steer yourself while it becomes,
Right.
training yourself for that to become natural. And we do that within our business too. Within Coulee Health, we have our values, and then it's like, okay, when we're going to make a business decision, we base it off of these are our values and this is what we want to do. So is this in alignment with our values? And then, we've started a family meeting every Sunday to allow for uncomfortable conversations instead of only positive feelings to come up in our house. And
And how has that been going? I'm navigating this. My kids are 5 and 3. So a lot of their friends, their parents are kind of, they're just picking different ways to deal with it. And I think it's different for every family, but for us, like, we talk about it a lot, about the pandemic, about that it means people are getting sick, that, who is at risk, these different things, as much as we can give them information if they're asking questions. We're not just like, good morning, everybody's dying.
Pandemic lesson.
Right.
Good morning. Welcome to COVID.
COVID day 9,000. And they've had like really good questions that have, I mean, my kids are like very, very curious anyways. I think all kids are. So holding space for some of those negative discussions, how have you found that for your family, and how has that worked?
It's been challenging, not in the sense of it's been I say this because I know that this pandemic is affecting people on different levels, but honestly, as a family unit for us, it slowed us down so much in a way that we really needed.
That's good. That's awesome.
And I don't know if you saw my post recently about there is not more time. I hear, and I'm guilty of saying it, like, now that I have more time, I don't have more. There's still 24. Unfortunately, there's not now 27 hours a day.
Same amount of time.
But it was running, like one schedule to the next. And so what we've seen in our house is that our 4 kids have become best friends. It's like my mom heart is just like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I get all sorts of sappy
You're
about
gonna
this.
Make me cry.
I'm like, this is what I thought it was going to be like to have kids, was like, they're going to play, they're going to explore, they're going to destroy things, they're going to build things, so what I'm taking note of is that was a choice. The way we were living was a choice. No one was forcing us to live that way.
Right.
What pieces of this can we continue on with no matter what happens? This is our reality now. This is our normal right now, whatever the next normal becomes. But in regards to, homeschooling, we set up a schedule right away because we know they do better with being told what's going on and let in on the choice of it. And we've stuck to that. And they've actually asked to continue that through the summer.
That's awesome.
It's not like, I can't say homeschooling because we have teachers giving us information and we're like tutors, right? So I can't take credit for homeschooling. And
your oldest is how old?
He's 12. He's going to be a teenager this year.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Yes. Scary.
So we're working on organization while simultaneously the 4-year-old that thinks that he rules the house. So that's, but so my husband actually implemented the family meeting on Sundays after quarantine started, coincidentally.
Oh.
And what we realized, and part of this was like my journey of self as well, but what we realized is if anybody had anything other than positive things to say, it was stressful for us. And so we need to teach them that it's okay for them to feel everything. And it's also
Right.
okay for them to have a voice. And
Yeah.
like, this isn't a dictatorship. So those meetings have been tough because we're basically rewriting how our family functions.
Oh my gosh.
And it's good, but it's hard. And, you know, when the 4-year-old comes out in a fishing hat and goggles and is like then mad because everybody laughs at him, it's all part of the process. So yeah, it's been, we live in the country, so there's not kids going by our house all the time. I think that that's helpful a little bit too. Business has slowed down, that's for sure. But one day, 1 hour at a time.
1 cup of coffee at a time.
Yes. Yes.
I had the unfortunate circumstance of stumbling across, and I don't even remember what the account was called now. There was someone on Pinterest that I really enjoyed a lot of their content that they were producing and putting out. And so I was digging deeper, and they were a very staunch believer of no caffeine of any form, which
immediately I'm like, I don't like them.
I know. And that's a terrible prejudice to have. I know. I was thinking, I was like, ooh, like I had to think about that. I was like, oh, I don't believe anything she's ever said now. Like, that's really silly.
Yeah, I get it.
In the grip of the drug.
Right. Yes. As we sip our coffee.
It's just, I hate everybody who doesn't drink coffee.
Yeah.
That's not true. And if for some reason that particular Pinterest user that I don't remember
is listening
on this, you know, I loved everything else and that's another part for myself of adapting to change, is being able to entertain ideas that I don't agree with.
Right.
Like being able to think about it without getting mad.
What an opportunity right now. I mean, there's
so much more time to think.
Right. Yeah. As well as all you have to do is open one of your social media accounts and get 55 different opinions on what the government should do. So,
and it's hard because I would really enjoy to do like a social media detox right now for myself, but it's my business, so like I can't just text my clients and be like, I'm not getting on your Facebook because your cousin's awful.
Now more than ever, it's business. It's our business.
It's been amazing. You know, that sounds very negative about having to be on social media even more.
I get it.
Oh my gosh, there's so many positive things coming out of that, which probably a topic for another video. Do you have anything else you want to share, add? I've just really loved chatting with you. It's been really nice.
No, I don't. I appreciate you having me, and equal parts love looking and seeing your content as you put out. And I think that I like to connect with real humans, whether it be via social media or real. And what I mean is like authenticity.
It's pretty authentic up in my life right now.
I appreciate it.
It's a really beautiful part about, connecting with people like you. So I'm going to put Erica's contact info, social media handles and stuff like that down in the description. So check that out. Give her a follow. She's definitely got a lot of really, really good information for anyone regarding health, change, mental health, all that cool stuff. Well, thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for tuning in to the first ever Bad Axe Asks. Stay tuned for the next one. I have some really fun guests coming up. Hopefully we'll be able to do one of these a week. Staying flexible, seeing what happens. Who knows? If you yourself would like to be interviewed, or you know somebody who might be a cool guest on Bad Axe Asks, feel free to shoot me an email. All my contact info is going to be down in the description below, so check that out and give us a subscribe. Like this video if you want to see more content like this. And stay well, stay Bad Axe. Till next time.